Admiral Kane Phillips stood on the bridge of the space station New Haven, staring at the main screen. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't notice. His eyes were fixed on the strange ships that had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 days earlier. The alien vessels were massive. Each one was bigger than anything humans had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish swimming through the darkness of space. Their hulls gleamed with an odd purple light that hurt to look at for too long. "Sir, we're getting another transmission," said Lieutenant Amy Watson from her station. Her voice was steady, but Phillips could see her hands shaking slightly as she worked the controls. "Put it through," Phillips said. He had heard this message before, but the aliens seemed determined to repeat it every few hours. The screen flickered, and a face appeared that was definitely not human. The creature had pale blue skin stretched tight over sharp bones. Its eyes were large and completely black like holes cut into its skull. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am High Commander Vexthar of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said. "We have conquered 17 star systems. Your worlds will surrender in 68 hours, or we will destroy every living thing on your planet. This is your final warning." The transmission ended. Phillips rubbed his tired eyes and looked around the bridge. Everyone was watching him, waiting for orders. These were good people, he thought. They deserved better than to be threatened by monsters from space. "Watson, get me a direct line to Earth. I need to speak with President Carter." Down on Earth, President Lisa Carter was having the worst week of her life. She sat in the Situation room deep under the White House, surrounded by the most important people in the world. General Ryan Brooks was there, along with Admiral Kate Morgan and a dozen other military leaders. Dr. Alan Tucker, the government's top expert on alien life, sat across from her with a stack of files in front of him. "Tell me again why we can't just blow them out of space," General Brooks said. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his time as a soldier. He looked like he wanted to punch something. Dr. Tucker adjusted his glasses and opened one of his files. "General, these aliens have technology that's hundreds of years ahead of ours. Their smallest ship has more firepower than our entire space fleet. They've wiped out civilizations that were probably more advanced than we are." "So, what do you suggest we do?" President Carter asked. "Just give up?" "I'm not saying that," Tucker replied. "I'm just saying we need to be smart about this." Admiral Morgan leaned forward. "What about the Luna defense grid? We spent 20 years building those weapon platforms." "Against human enemies," Brooks said. "These things probably won't even notice our missiles." The room fell quiet. Carter looked around the table at all the worried faces. These were the smartest, toughest people she knew, and they all looked scared. She didn't blame them. She was scared too. Then Commander Jake Martinez cleared his throat. He was sitting at the far end of the table, and until now, he had been quiet. Martinez ran the Special Operations Division, the part of the military that handled the strangest and most secret missions. "There might be another option," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. Carter had known Martinez for years, and she could tell he was holding something back. "What kind of option?" she asked. Martinez reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder marked with red letters that said "Top Secret." He set it on the table like it might explode. "Labyrinth Protocol," he said. "We've been working on it for 50 years. 50 years, Brooks said. "How is that possible?" "We didn't even know aliens existed 50 years ago, didn't we?" Martinez asked. He opened the folder and pulled out old photographs. They showed pieces of strange metal and electronics that definitely didn't look human. "We've been finding pieces of alien technology for decades. Crashes, abandoned probe ships, things that fell out of space. Every time we found something, we studied it." Carter stared at the photos. Some of them were dated from before she was born. "Why wasn't I told about this?" "Because every president for the last 50 years was told about it," Martinez said. "And every president decided to keep it secret until we needed it. Today we need it." Dr. Tucker was looking through the photos with wide eyes. "This is incredible. Some of this technology, I've never seen anything like it. That's because it's not from Earth, Martinez said. We've been reverse engineering alien tech for half a century. We've built weapons, defense systems, things that even we don't fully understand. And we've been waiting for the day when aliens showed up at our door. General Brooks was reading through the file. This is insane. According to this, we have weapons, hidden all over the solar system. Not weapons, Martinez corrected, a trap. The biggest trap ever built. President Carter felt a strange mix of anger and hope. Anger because she had been kept in the dark about something so important. Hope because maybe, just maybe, they had a chance after all. How does it work? She asked. Martinez smiled for the first time since the aliens had arrived. We make them think we're weak. We make them think they've already won. And then we spring the trap. And if it doesn't work? Martinez's smile faded. Then we all die. But at least we'll die fighting. Carter looked around the room. Everyone was staring at her, waiting for her decision. Outside, she knew that millions of people were watching the news, terrified that their world was about to end. They were counting on her to save them. She thought about her children, asleep in their beds upstairs. She thought about all the children in the world, and what kind of future they would have if Earth surrendered to alien masters. Do it, she said. Activate Labyrinth Protocol. The next day, President Carter stood behind a podium in the White House press room. Every news camera in the world was pointed at her. She looked directly into the main camera and spoke in a clear, strong voice. People of Earth, she said, we have received demands from the alien fleet. They want us to surrender our world and our freedom. They promise to spare our lives if we submit to their rule. She paused and lifted her chin. Our answer is no. The press room erupted in shouts and questions, but Carter kept talking. We are human beings. We bow to no one. If these aliens want our world, they will have to take it from us. And we will make them pay for every inch. In space, High Commander Vex Thera watched the human transmission with something that might have been amusement. The pale creature turned to its officers and made a sound that was probably laughter. Foolish animals, it said. They think their primitive weapons can stop us. Begin the attack. Show them what happens to species that defy the Empire. The Zephyrian fleet started moving toward Earth, confident that this would be just another easy conquest. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Captain Ben Collins gripped the controls of his fighter ship as he watched the alien fleet getting closer. His squadron was hiding behind one of Jupiter's moons, waiting for the order to attack. The other pilots were quiet on the radio, but Ben could feel their fear. Remember, he said into his headset, we're not trying to win this fight, we just need to make it look good. His wingman, Lieutenant Sarah Davis, came on the radio. Easy for you to say, Cap. Those alien ships look like they could swat us like flies. Ben looked at his scanner. The Zephyrian advance fleet was huge. 12 massive ships, each one bristling with weapons that could probably destroy a city. Behind them, more ships were coming, hundreds of them. All units, this is Admiral Phillips, came a voice from Space Command. Begin Operation Scarecrow. Remember, you're supposed to lose this fight, but make it believable. Ben took a deep breath and pushed his ship forward. Okay, people, let's go die heroically. The human fighters burst out from behind the moon like angry wasps. There were 50 of them, tiny compared to the alien ships. They opened fire with everything they had, sending streams of missiles and laser fire at the enemy. The aliens barely seemed to notice. Their shields absorbed the human weapons without even flickering. Then they fired back. Ben watched in horror as the first wave of his squadron was wiped out in seconds. The alien weapons were like nothing he had ever seen. Beams of red light that turned ships into clouds of glowing dust. He had known this was going to happen, but seeing it was different from knowing it. Pull back, he shouted. Fighting retreat! The surviving human ships ran for their lives, with the aliens chasing them. Ben's fighter shook as an enemy beam passed close to his wing. On his scanner, he could see more human ships coming to help. Cruisers and destroyers, the biggest ships Earth had built. But they were still no match for alien technology. The human ships fought bravely, but one by one they were destroyed. Each explosion lit up space like a tiny star being born and dying in the same moment. Captain Collins managed to keep his ship alive longer than most. As he flew past the wreckage of the cruiser Defiance, he pressed a button on his control panel. A small device launched from his ship and attached itself to a piece of floating metal. It looked like just another piece of debris, but it was actually a quantum beacon. One of many that surviving human ships were secretly planting throughout the battle zone. Meanwhile, on Earth's moon, Dr. Amy Watson was working frantically in the Luna Research Facility. The base was built deep underground, hidden from alien sensors. She and her team were watching the battle through quantum communication arrays spread across the solar system. Phase 1 is active, she reported to Earth. The beacons are being deployed on schedule. Her assistant, Dr. Greg Foster, was monitoring alien communications. They're taking the bait, he said. Listen to this. He played a recording of alien voices, translated by the facility's computers. The aliens were laughing at human stupidity. They were commenting on how primitive Earth's weapons were, how badly organized the defense was. Perfect, Watson said. They think we're exactly what we appear to be. She activated the second part of their plan. All across the solar system, quantum communication arrays began transmitting fake messages. The aliens would intercept these signals and think they were listening to real human military communications. The fake messages were carefully designed to sound panicked and disorganized. Fictional commanders begged for reinforcements that didn't exist. Made-up pilots reported that their weapons weren't working. Imaginary generals argued about whether to retreat or make a final stand. Back on Earth, General Brooks was coordinating the retreat of human forces. Every surviving ship was falling back toward Earth, leaving behind a trail of wreckage and escape pods. To alien eyes, it looked like a complete rout, but the retreat was as carefully planned as everything else. Each ship followed a precise path, and each piece of debris was left in exactly the right place. Commander Martinez's special forces were using tiny stealth ships to plant more quantum beacons throughout the debris field. President Carter made another broadcast, this one from a bunker deep under Washington, D.C. She looked tired and desperate as she spoke to the world. "My fellow humans," she said, "our fleets have been defeated. The aliens are approaching Earth with overwhelming force. I am prepared to begin surrender negotiations to save as many lives as possible." The performance was so convincing that riots broke out in several cities. People thought their leaders had given up. They didn't know that Carter was acting, following a script that had been written years before. High Commander Vexithara watched the human broadcast with satisfaction. The creature was standing on the bridge of its flagship, the World Breaker, as the Zephyrian fleet moved past the orbit of Mars. "The humans break quickly," it said to its officers. "Even quicker than the Centaurians did. How disappointing." Its tactical officer, a creature with 4 arms and skin like black leather, nodded agreement. "Shall we accept their surrender, Commander?" "Eventually," Vexithara said, "but first let them suffer a little more. Fear makes slaves more obedient." The alien commander didn't notice the small readings on its sensors, tiny energy signatures, scattered throughout the debris of the human fleet. The ship's computer classified them as background radiation from destroyed reactors. On Earth, the Labyrinth Protocol team was working around the clock. Dr. Helen Price, deep in her underwater facility in the Pacific Ocean, was making final adjustments to the quantum field generators. These machines had been built using technology reverse-engineered from alien artifacts. They were humanity's greatest secret, and their only hope. "Field coherence is at 97%, she reported. "All beacon signals are strong." Commander Martinez was in the control room, watching displays that showed the positions of every ship in the solar system. Both human and alien vessels appeared as dots of light on his screens. The aliens were following exactly the path his planners had predicted. "They're so confident," he said to Admiral Phillips, who had joined him in the bunker. "They think this is going to be easy." Phillips was watching the alien fleet approach Earth. "Let's hope our confidence isn't misplaced either." Back in space, the few remaining human ships were making their last stand near Earth's moon. Captain Collins was still alive, though his fighter was badly damaged. He was part of a small group of ships that were putting on a show for the aliens. The human ships fired their remaining weapons in desperate, uncoordinated attacks. They flew in erratic patterns like panicked animals. Some ships even collided with each other in their apparent confusion. To the aliens, it looked like the final collapse of human resistance. They moved in for the kill, eager to finish off the last of Earth's defenders. But every movement, every apparently random flight pattern, was part of the plan. Each surviving human ship was a piece in a vast, invisible puzzle. When the last ship was destroyed or had fled, all the pieces would be in place. Lieutenant Davis managed to get her damaged fighter back to the hidden base on the far side of the moon. As she climbed out of her cockpit, she was shaking from exhaustion and fear. "Did we do it?" she asked Dr. Watson. "Are all the beacons in place?" Watson checked her instruments. Throughout the solar system, hundreds of tiny quantum beacons were now positioned exactly where they needed to be. They formed an invisible web of energy that surrounded Earth and extended all the way out to Jupiter's orbit. "Yes," Watson said. "The trap is set. Now we just need the aliens to walk into it." The Zephyrian fleet was approaching Earth's orbit, confident that they had broken human resistance. High Commander Vexathara was already planning the victory celebration. Its species had conquered so many worlds that the process had become routine. But this time the routine was about to be broken. The aliens had no idea that every move they had made, every position they had taken, had been anticipated and planned for. They thought they were the hunters, but they were about to become the prey. On Earth, President Carter prepared for her final performance. Soon, she would give the speech that would trigger the most elaborate trap in human history. The fate of the world depended on whether 50 years of secret preparation would be enough to defeat an empire that had never known defeat. The Zephyrian fleet reached Earth's orbit like a storm of death approaching a defenseless world. High Commander Vexathara stood on the bridge of the World Breaker, looking down at the blue planet below. Around Earth, a pathetic collection of human ships waited in what appeared to be humanity's final defense. Admiral Kane Phillips commanded this last desperate fleet from the bridge of the aging battleship Liberty. The ship was over 30 years old, and it looked it. Beside it floated cargo vessels, passenger liners, mining ships, and even space tugs. Anything that could mount a weapon had been pressed into service. "This is almost sad," said the alien tactical officer. "They're using cargo ships to fight us." Vexathara made the sound that passed for laughter among its species. "The humans are like children playing with toys. Begin the final attack. I want this over quickly." But Admiral Phillips was not the desperate commander he appeared to be. Deep inside the Liberty's hull, hidden behind false walls, were some of the most advanced computers ever built by humans. These machines were running calculations that would have amazed the aliens if they had known about them. "All ships maintain formation," Phillips said calmly. "Remember, we need to draw them in close." Captain Sophie Blake was piloting the cargo, ship New Boston, which had been converted into a makeshift warship. Her crew was made up of volunteers, people who had signed up to die for their world. But Blake knew something they didn't. Today, they weren't going to die. Today, they were going to win. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Helen Price watched her instruments with fierce concentration. The underwater facility was shielded from detection by layers of rock and metal. Here, in this hidden chamber, humanity's most powerful weapons waited to be activated. "Quantum field generators are charged and ready," she reported to the command center. "All beacon signals are strong. The web is complete." The quantum beacons that had been secretly planted during the earlier battles were now forming an invisible network throughout the solar system. Each beacon was no bigger than a baseball, but together they could bend space and time itself. High Commander Vexathara gave the order to attack. The Zephyrian ships opened fire with weapons that could melt asteroids. Purple beams of energy lanced out toward the human fleet. Admiral Phillips watched the first beams approach and gave a quiet order. "All ships, execute evasion pattern 7. Human ships began to move. But instead of scattering in panic, they flew in precise formations. Each ship followed a path that had been calculated years in advance. To alien eyes, it looked like random desperation. In reality, it was the most complex dance ever performed in space. The human ships were destroyed one by one. The cargo ship Frontier exploded in a ball of fire. The passenger liner Hope was cut in half by an alien beam. The mining vessel Prospector simply vanished in a flash of light. But each destruction was planned. Each explosion happened in exactly the right place, at exactly the right time. The wreckage from destroyed ships added new elements to the quantum field that was growing around. The alien fleet. Captain Blake's ship was hit and her engines failed. As the New Boston drifted helplessly, she transmitted a coded message that sounded like a distress call. But hidden in the static was the activation sequence for Labyrinth Protocol. Dr. Price received the signal in her underwater bunker. "This is it," she said to her team. "Activate the quantum field, spring the trap." She pressed a button that she had hoped never to use. All across the solar system, hundreds of quantum beacons came to life at the same instant. The effect was immediate and devastating. Space itself began to twist around the alien fleet. Reality bent and warped as the quantum field activated. The stars seemed to dance in the sky, and the familiar laws of physics stopped working normally. High Commander Vexithara felt its flagship shudder as the field took hold. Warning lights flashed on every screen. The ship's computer began reporting impossible readings. "What is happening?" the alien commander demanded. Its navigation officer, a creature with tentacles instead of arms, was frantically working at its console. "Sir, our faster-than-light drive is not responding. The quantum core is showing impossible readings." "Then use the backup systems." "All systems are failing, Commander. It's as if space itself has become hostile to our technology." On Earth, President Carter stepped up to a podium that was very different from the one she had used for her surrender speech. This time, she was in the real command center, surrounded by screens showing the alien fleet trapped in humanity's quantum web. "People of Earth," she said, broadcasting to the entire world, "the enemy has fallen into our trap. Operation Labyrinth is now active. The invasion is over." Admiral Phillips revealed the true nature of his desperate fleet. Hidden compartments opened on his ships, revealing weapons that definitely were not of human design. These were devices built from 50 years of studying alien technology. Weapons designed specifically to work inside the quantum field. The Liberty fired its first shot, and the nearest Zephyrian cruiser simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not exploded, but erased from reality as if it had never been there. "Target the command ships," Phillips ordered. "Let's show them what humans can do when we've had time to prepare." Captain Blake's damaged cargo ship was not as helpless as it appeared. Hidden engines came online, powered by technology that the aliens themselves had invented centuries ago. She piloted the New Boston in an attack run that no human ship should have been able to make. "This is for everyone you've ever conquered," she said as she fired alien weapons at alien ships. Throughout the solar system, more human vessels were revealing themselves. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields, behind moons, in the shadow of planets. These were not the primitive vessels the aliens had been fighting. These were warships built with technology stolen from a dozen different species that the Zephyrians had conquered. Dr. Amy Watson emerged from her hidden base on the moon, commanding a squadron of fighters that moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. These ships used quantum drives that allowed them to be in several places at once, making them almost impossible to hit. "Luna Squadron to all ships," she broadcast. "Let's teach these invaders what it means to threaten Earth." High Commander Vexithara watched its mighty fleet being systematically destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. The quantum field made it impossible to retreat. The aliens were trapped like fish in a barrel, being shot by an enemy they had completely underestimated. "How is this possible?" the alien commander screamed. "These are primitive animals. Their technology is centuries behind ours." Dr. Helen Price answered that question in a broadcast to the alien fleet. Her image appeared on every Zephyrian screen, speaking in their own language. "You want to know how this is possible?" she said. "You've been conquering worlds for so long that you forgot something important. Every time you destroy a civilization, you leave evidence behind. Wreckage, technology, clues about how your weapons work. She gestured to the quantum field generators around her. We've been studying your kind for 50 years. Every crashed probe, every piece of debris, every artifact that fell to Earth. We learned from all of it. We built weapons specifically designed to kill you. Commander Jake Martinez was leading boarding parties against crippled alien ships. His soldiers wore armor that made them invisible to Zephyrian sensors and carried weapons that turned the aliens' own shields against them. "Secure the command deck," he ordered as his team stormed through the corridors of an alien cruiser. "Take prisoners if possible. We need information about other hostile fleets." The Zephyrian Empire, which had never known defeat, was learning what it felt like to be helpless. Their superior technology was useless inside the quantum field. Their mighty weapons couldn't lock onto targets that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Their impenetrable shields were being penetrated by weapons designed from their own stolen secrets. General Ryan Brooks watched the battle from Earth's command center with grim satisfaction. "How does it feel?" he asked the image of High Commander Vexithera on his screen. "How does it feel to be the ones who are outgunned and outmaneuvered?" The alien commander had no answer. Its species had forgotten what fear felt like, but now it was learning all over again. As the last Zephyrian ship was either destroyed or captured, President Carter addressed the galaxy. The quantum field was broadcasting her words to every inhabited system within 100 light-years. "This is President Lisa Carter of Earth," she said. "The Zephyrian invasion fleet has been destroyed. Any other species considering an attack on humanity should remember this day. We are not as helpless as we appear. We are not as primitive as you think. And we do not forgive those who threaten our world." The trap had worked perfectly. 50 years of preparation had paid off in the most spectacular way possible. The galaxy's most feared empire had been defeated by the species they had considered too primitive to worry about. High Commander Vexithara sat in the damaged bridge of its flagship, staring at screens that showed the impossible. The mighty Zephyrian fleet, terror of 17 star systems, was being hunted down like wounded animals by the very species they had come to conquer. The quantum field that trapped them was unlike anything in Zephyrian science. Their ships drifted helplessly as human vessels moved around them with impossible speed and precision. Every time the aliens tried to fight back, their weapons failed to function properly in the twisted space. "Status report," Vexithara demanded, though it already knew the answer would be bad. Its tactical officer, one of the few crew members still at its post, worked frantically at damaged controls. 70% of our fleet is destroyed or disabled. Commander, our weapon systems are operating at only 20% efficiency. The faster-than-light drive is completely offline. Captain Laura Scott commanded the human dreadnought Retribution as it emerged from the asteroid belt like a predator revealing itself to its prey. The ship was massive, bigger than any vessel humanity had officially built. Its hull was covered in armor that seemed to absorb light, making it look like a hole cut out of space itself. "This is Captain Scott to all Zephyrian vessels," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting, and we will show you no mercy." The Retribution had been built in secret over 20 years, using technology reverse-engineered from a dozen different alien species. Its weapons were based on principles that the Zephyrians themselves had developed, but improved by human engineering and powered by fusion reactors that could outperform anything in the alien fleet. Dr. Amy Watson piloted her fighter through the quantum field like it was normal space. Her ship, the Quantum Hawk, could phase in and out of different dimensional layers, making it nearly impossible for alien sensors to track. She swooped down on a Zephyrian cruiser and fired weapons that existed in several realities at once. The alien ship's shields, designed to stop conventional energy weapons, were useless against attacks that came from dimensions they couldn't detect. The cruiser's hull simply dissolved, exposing the crew compartments to the vacuum of space. "Target eliminated," Watson reported. Moving to the next one. Commander Jake Martinez was inside the alien command ship, leading a boarding party through corridors that seemed designed for creatures much larger than humans. His soldiers wore powered armor that was based on technology stolen from 3 different alien civilizations. The armor made them stronger and faster than any human had a right to be. They moved through the ship like ghosts, their suits making them invisible to Zephyrian sensors. When they encountered alien crew members, the fight was over before it began. Human weapons fired bullets that could penetrate any known armor, powered by technology that the aliens had never shared with their victims. Deck 7 secured, Martinez reported as his team reached the ship's computer core. Beginning data extraction. The information they were downloading would tell Earth everything about Zephyrian technology, their other fleets, and the locations of worlds they had conquered. This intelligence would be priceless for humanity's next phase of operations. Dr. Helen Price watched the battle from her underwater command center with fierce satisfaction. The quantum field was working even better than her models had predicted. The alien ships were not just trapped, they were being slowly torn apart by the forces that surrounded them. Field stability at 100%, she reported to President Carter. The aliens aren't going anywhere. We can take as much time as we need to deal with them. But the humans were not taking their time. They had waited 50 years for this moment, and they were determined to make the most of it. General Emma Hayes commanded the orbital artillery platforms that had been hidden on the far side of Earth's moon. These weapons used quantum tunneling technology to fire projectiles that could appear anywhere within the field instantly. To the aliens, it looked like the humans could shoot through solid matter. Fire mission approved, Hayes said as she targeted another alien cruiser. Let's show them what happens when you threaten our planet. The quantum artillery fired, and the alien ship was hit by projectiles that materialized inside its hull. The crew had no warning, no chance to raise shields or take evasive action. One moment their ship was intact, the next it was a cloud of expanding debris. High Commander Vexithara finally understood what had happened. The humans had not been primitive at all. They had been pretending, acting weak, while they prepared the most elaborate trap in galactic history. Clever animals, it said, though there was no admiration in its voice. Only fury at being outsmarted by what it had considered an inferior species. Dr. Alan Tucker was analyzing captured Zephyrian technology in real time, using quantum computers that could process information faster than alien minds could think. Every piece of equipment his teams captured was immediately studied and understood. Their life support systems are remarkably inefficient, he reported to the command team. And their computer networks have several obvious weak points. We can exploit these in future operations. The word future was important. Humanity was not just winning this battle. They were preparing for the next one. Captain Sophie Blake had survived the apparent destruction of her cargo ship and was now commanding a squadron of stealth fighters. These ships were invisible to Zephyrian sensors and armed with weapons that could punch through any known armor. This is Blake to all units, she transmitted. Remember, we want prisoners. The more aliens we capture, the more we can learn about their empire. The human ships began using non-lethal weapons, devices that could disable alien crews without killing them. Stun fields that worked on Zephyrian nervous systems, gas weapons that put alien crews to sleep, electromagnetic pulses that shut down their cybernetic implants. Within hours, dozens of alien ships had been captured intact, their crews taken prisoner. Each captured vessel was a treasure trove of information about Zephyrian technology and tactics. Admiral Kane Phillips coordinated the entire operation from his command ship. The old battleship Liberty had revealed its true nature, opening hidden compartments that contained command and control systems more advanced than anything the Zephyrians possessed. Phase 4 is complete, he reported to Earth. All enemy vessels are either destroyed or captured. No Zephyrian ship has escaped the quantum field. President Carter appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet, speaking directly to the surviving crew members. Her words were translated into their language by computers that had learned Zephyrian speech patterns from intercepted communications. You came here expecting to conquer a primitive world, she said. Instead, you have learned that underestimating humanity is a fatal mistake. Your empire has ruled through fear and superior technology. Today you discover what happens when your victims have had time to prepare. High Commander Vexathera was brought aboard the Liberty in magnetic restraints that had been specifically designed for its species. The alien leader was placed in a holding cell that was equipped with life support systems based on captured Zephyrian technology. Admiral Phillips visited the prisoner personally. The two beings stared at each other through the transparent aluminum barrier that separated them. "Your invasion is over," Phillips said. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your empire's reputation for invincibility is broken. How does it feel to be on the losing side?" Vexathera's black eyes showed no emotion, but Phillips could see the defeat in its posture. "You cannot hold us forever," the alien said. "Other fleets will come." "Let them come," Phillips replied. "We'll be ready for them too." Dr. Watson was already analyzing the captured alien ships, learning everything she could about their construction and capabilities. Human engineers were reverse engineering Zephyrian technology at an incredible pace, preparing to build even more advanced weapons and defenses. "Their jump drive technology is actually quite crude," she reported. "We can improve on it significantly. Within a year, we'll have ships that can travel faster than anything in their fleet." The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Humanity had proven that they could defend their home world. Now they had to decide what to do with their newfound power. Commander Martinez finished downloading the last of the alien databases. The information they had captured included the locations of every Zephyrian military base, the strength of their remaining fleets, and the positions of hundreds of conquered worlds. "We have everything," he reported to President Carter. "Fleet positions, supply lines, political structure, technology specifications. We know more about their empire than most of their own citizens do." Carter nodded grimly. "Then it's time to decide our next move. Do we stop here or do we take the fight to them?" The question would define humanity's future in the galaxy. They had won the greatest victory in human history, but victories always came with choices, and the choices they made now would determine whether Earth remained a hidden defensive power or became something much more dangerous to the galaxy's tyrants. 6 months after the defeat of the Zephyrian invasion fleet, President Lisa Carter stood in the renovated United Nations building in New York, but she was not addressing the nations of Earth. Today, she was speaking to representatives from 47 different worlds across the galaxy. The Great Assembly Hall had been modified to accommodate beings of many different shapes and sizes. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others required special atmosphere suits. A few existed as energy patterns and communicated through quantum translators. "Friends and allies," Carter said, her words being translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. 6 months ago, Earth was threatened with conquest. Today, we gather as equals to build a new future for all free peoples. In the front row sat High Commander Vexathera, no longer a prisoner, but not quite free either. The former Zephyrian leader wore simple clothes instead of military armor. Its black eyes watched Carter with what might have been respect, or perhaps just resignation. The alien had been surprisingly cooperative once it realized that humanity's victory was total and permanent. Vexathera had provided detailed information about Zephyrian military structure, conquered worlds, and the political weaknesses that could be exploited to free enslaved populations. Admiral Kane Phillips now commanded a fleet that included both human and captured alien vessels. The Liberty had been joined by dozens of Zephyrian ships that had been modified with human technology. These hybrid vessels were faster and more powerful than anything either species had built alone. "Fleet status report," Phillips said during the morning briefing. "We now have operational control of 3 star systems formerly under Zephyrian rule. Local populations have been liberated and are establishing democratic governments. Captain Laura Scott was leading the liberation efforts. Her ship, the Retribution, had become the flagship of humanity's first interstellar fleet. She had personally overseen the freeing of 2 million enslaved beings on the mining worlds of the Kepler system. The former slaves are eager to help," Scott reported. "Many of them have technical knowledge that we can use. They know Zephyrian weaknesses that even our prisoners don't know about." Dr. Amy Watson had been promoted to head of the new Quantum Defense Initiative. Her team was building an early warning network that would span hundreds of light years. Never again would Earth be caught off guard by an alien invasion. The quantum relay stations are coming online ahead of schedule, she reported. Within 2 years, we'll have real-time communication with every free world in this part of the galaxy. The captured Zephyrian technology had revolutionized human science almost overnight. Dr. Helen Price's underwater facility had become the center of a research program that was advancing human knowledge by centuries every month. We're not just copying their technology, Price explained to a gathering of Earth's top scientists. We're improving it. Human creativity combined with alien science is producing results that neither species could achieve alone. Commander Jake Martinez was training the first generation of human space marines for interstellar operations. His soldiers were equipped with armor and weapons that made them more than a match for any known alien military force. The key is adaptability, he told his trainees. Every alien species fights differently. We study them, learn their weaknesses, and exploit them. That's what makes humans dangerous. The psychological impact of humanity's victory was spreading throughout the galaxy, faster than any spaceship could travel. The Zephyrian Empire had been considered invincible for over 1,000 years. Their defeat had shattered that myth and inspired rebellions on dozens of worlds. Dr. Alan Tucker was working with refugee populations to understand the full extent of Zephyrian oppression. His reports painted a picture of an empire that ruled through fear and had made enemies of almost every species it had encountered. They conquered through technological superiority, Tucker explained. But they never tried to understand the species they ruled. That made them predictable. Humans are the first species to systematically study and counter their methods. General Emma Hayes was establishing the first human military academy for interstellar warfare. Students came from Earth and from dozens of liberated worlds. They learned human tactics alongside alien technology, creating a new generation of warriors who could fight anywhere in the galaxy. We're not building an empire, Hayes told her students. We're building a defense force. Our job is to protect freedom, not conquer worlds. President Carter's biggest challenge was preventing humanity from becoming the very thing they had defeated. The temptation to use their new power for conquest was strong, but Carter and her advisors were determined to build something better. We have the power to rule the galaxy, she said during a cabinet meeting. That's exactly why we must not do it. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We must remain the defenders of freedom, not its destroyers. The quantum field technology that had trapped the Zephyrian fleet was being refined for peaceful purposes. Dr. Watson's team had developed a new form of faster-than-light travel that was safer and more efficient than anything previously known. The Quantum Highway project will connect every free world, Watson announced. Travel time between star systems will be reduced from months to days. Trade, communication, and cultural exchange will flourish like never before. Captain Sophie Blake was commanding one of the first exploration missions to uncharted regions of the galaxy. Her ship, the New Horizon, was equipped with both human and alien technology and crewed by beings from a dozen different worlds. We're not just exploring, Blake reported from the edge of known space. We're looking for other species that might need our help. The galaxy is full of civilizations that have been hiding from empires like the Zephyrians. The economic benefits of humanity's victory were already being felt on Earth. Alien technology was revolutionizing medicine, agriculture, and manufacturing. Diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries were being cured with Zephyrian medical knowledge. Crop yields were increasing dramatically with alien agricultural techniques. But perhaps the most important change was psychological. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they were no longer the weakest species. They had proven that intelligence, creativity, and careful planning could overcome any technological advantage. High Commander Vexuthara was granted a private meeting with President Carter on the anniversary of the invasion. The two beings sat in Carter's office, looking out at a view of Earth from the orbital station where the meeting was held. "Your species surprises me," Vexuthara said. "Most civilizations that gain power use it to dominate others. You use it to liberate them." Carter nodded. "That's what makes us human. We remember what it's like to be threatened, to feel helpless. We don't want other species to feel that way." "The galaxy is changing because of what you did," the alien continued. Old empires are falling. New alliances are forming. There will be chaos before there is peace. Then we'll be ready for the chaos, Carter replied. We've been preparing for 50 years. We can prepare for 50 more. Dr. Helen Price was working on the most ambitious project in human history, a galaxy-wide defense network that would make invasion impossible for any aggressive species. The project would take decades to complete, but when finished it would ensure that no civilization would ever again face the terror of sudden conquest. We're not just protecting Earth, Price explained to the Galactic Council. We're protecting the principle that every species has the right to exist free from domination. That's worth any amount of effort. The final scene of humanity's transformation took place in the same room where President Carter had first learned about the alien threat. The Situation Room had been expanded to accommodate representatives from allied worlds, and the walls were covered with displays showing the status of hundreds of star systems. Report from Sector 7, came a voice from the communication system. 3 more worlds have declared independence from the Corvan Empire. They're requesting assistance in establishing planetary defenses. Approved, Carter said. Dispatch the 3rd Fleet to provide support. Admiral Phillips looked at the strategic display with satisfaction. Red markers showing hostile territory were being replaced by green markers showing free worlds. The change was happening faster than anyone had dared to hope. The Zephyrian Empire officially dissolved yesterday, he reported. Their remaining fleets have either surrendered or fled to distant galaxies. The threat that brought us together is gone. But Carter knew that other threats would emerge. The galaxy was a dangerous place, full of species that believed might made right. Humanity would need to remain vigilant, ready to defend freedom wherever it was threatened. The threat that brought us together is gone, she agreed. But our mission continues. We are the guardians of liberty now. As long as there are tyrants in the galaxy, there will be work for us to do. Outside the windows of the space station, Earth turned slowly in the void. It was still the same blue world that had been threatened 6 months ago, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer hiding in their corner of the galaxy. They had become the force that other species looked to for protection and hope. The trap that had begun as Earth's last desperate gambit had become the foundation for a new galactic order.